Good morning, everybody. Greetings. Thanks for joining us for wherever you're coming from, whether it's afternoon, evening, or morning. I'm Ed Marsh. I'm the founder of Ed Marsh Consulting and the host of the Industrial Growth Institute podcast. I work with B2B companies on improving the performance of their sales teams and with industrial manufacturers on a full revenue growth process from strategy through marketing and sales, customer experience, and including the technology that weaves all that together. Most of what I do focuses on growing revenue. I don't do operations or financial consulting. That's not my superpower, as the expression goes. It's not a place where I've got particular insider expertise, but it's important. I mean, obviously it's important. The company has to have resources and management bandwidth to focus on marketing and sales, which is where I want them paying attention. And that means the productions and operations side of the house has to be in order and has to be making money. And that's why I'm really excited today to be chatting with Juan Hurtado. He's the founder of Daniel, which is an AI analyst to aid finance and operations folks in industrial manufacturing firms. It's a really cool tool. And yes, you're absolutely going to get to see a little bit of how it works in a few minutes. First, we're going to get to know Juan a little bit, and particularly to understand the problem that he and his team are trying to solve. So thanks very much for joining me today, and welcome, Juan.
Thank you very much. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. As Ed said, I'm Juan Hurtado. I'm co-founder of Daniel. It's an interesting solution that is trying to tackle a problem in a different way. Okay, so when you have a company, okay, and you have some sort of complexity, the way you do analytics nowadays is based on things that you define you want to see. You need to ask a question.
If I can interrupt you there, that's a key point. Now we're going to come back to that. That it's too often. I'm early Gen X, not a boomer, fortunately, early Gen X, and so I tend to think in a very linear kind of a way. I mean, that's the way that the world was when I was born and when I was growing up. And it took me a couple times chatting with you before I completely understood the premise of what we're talking about. But before we jump into that, let's just kind of get to know you a little bit first. You're Colombian by birth. You're, I think, spending most of your time in Panama now. You spend a fair amount of time in the U.S. You have a degree in finance and IT and entrepreneurship, and obviously you're using all three of those together in your startup now. So kind of bring us up to speed quickly how you came to launch Daniel.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I have a business background. Okay, I've always been interested in doing different projects, and I've been involved in different projects in my life. So Daniel came to life because the mother of Daniel is a company that has been doing research and development on business intelligence, on machine learning, data science, and AI for the past 20 plus years. Okay. And actually, that company has some interesting BI projects, but with the customers and what we were delivering to the customers wasn't solving the actual problem. And that's where we said we need to be able to automate the process of discovery. So in 2020, conversations started in 2018, 2020, we decided to name Daniel. And it was just a development from past experiences with solutions we had developed.
And where did the name Daniel come from?
The name came from, one of the co-founders is a sci-fi enthusiast, and there's an author called Isaac Asimov, mm-hmm. and he has many different books, and there's a specific character named Daniel, which is an artificial intelligence robot. It's like a humanoid that actually the mission is to save the world. So we kind of took it from that part.
I see. And obviously you've got a very international background. I mean, we've got visitors this morning I see Lucas from Brazil. I see Nicholas from Italy. So great to have a variety of people here. And you've done quite a bit around the world, I think, right?
Yes. We actually, we have distributors in different countries. We have customers in Europe. We have customers in America. So we're in the process of expanding our reach within different regions. That's what we're doing now. Yes.
Got it. All right. So I think I alluded in my opening remarks that it's taken me a couple calls with Juan to really understand the essence, what I think is the essence of what our Daniel does. We first met at the Mass MEP event held earlier this summer, the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which was a good opportunity to get some insights into some developing technologies, 3D printing, AI, and some other things. That's where we first connected, and then we chatted a couple times. It was really only the second conversation that I think I began to wrap my brain around it, and I would describe the tool as, I mean, you call it an AI analyst in the description, but I would say almost more importantly, it's self-configuring. So in other words, unlike tools where you say, I think that this ratio is important in my business, or in the past, I've found that this is indicative or a leading indicator, and please compare these two factors and look for a correlation. Instead, you're basically saying we're going to connect the ERP and the finance data, and then we're going to let this engine churn and let it start to figure out what we should be focused on. Is that fair?
Yes, yes. At some point, yes. So what we did different is that, our Daniel knows about business, and he knows how to think like an executive. And with all this deep profit knowledge, he's going to do things the other way. So he's going to go into data, analyze everything. And this is within the environment of revenue and profit. So it's all related to revenue and profit. And then analyzing everything. And this is where, the capability of discovery jumps to millions times more than a human, because actually you can analyze millions of situations at once.
Mm-hmm.
And then, based on relevance and ranking things based on financial impact, on probable causes, and many other variables, is going to push whatever is relevant in a newspaper to the company. So now with our Daniel, what you're going to have is actually a newsboard, a newspaper of your company based on revenue and profit. And as you said, it's self-configuring, because you don't need to ask any question. It learns as it goes, and it tunes itself automatically.
So, there's this great expression, I think it was Rumsfeld, that became a meme for saying we have known knowns, we have known unknowns, and we have unknown unknowns. And the beauty of this is the promise is that it will help uncover the unknown unknowns to give you some insight. It's not going to tell you why something's happening, but it's going to say, hey, here's something that's going on that seems anomalous, and you probably want to dig in and understand the root causes and whether it's a problem and whether you should begin to fix it, right?
Exactly. That's the main limitation you find in every solution you find on the market,
Right.
is that you need to define what you want to see. And although values changes, what about the things that you don't know are going on in your company? And that's not because you don't know how to manage your company. It's just because It's too complex to see everything going on in the company every single day.
Now, you mentioned,
sorry. The unknown unknowns is the part. That's the part, yeah.
So you mentioned that it's focused on revenue and profitability. How about if you're connecting to the ERP, are you getting information on inventory turns and things like that as well?
Yes. So we have the sales module, which is going to be focused on revenue, profit, and we can put budgeting if you want, so that you can have actual see how it goes daily, how you're meeting your expectations. We have an inventory add-on, and obviously we're developing different functionalities that are gonna come as add-ons. So we have inventory as an add-on beta version. Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit toward the end about your roadmap and some of the exciting developments you have coming. You're focused on manufacturers. How come?
We're focused on manufacturers. There is a big need to get, let's say we have a sweet spot. Okay. Yeah. You find 90% of companies in US don't have access to advanced analytics because it's too expensive. You need to have specialized people. You need to have specialized AI solutions. Then you need to go through training these solutions. Then you need specialized people to manage them. So there's a huge market in US only.
And then you're still missing the unknown unknowns.
Yes, exactly. So when you see it that way, obviously we need to focus on a target. And what does our Daniel analyzes is behavior. So we need to have, a lot of value in the customer. In B2B, you have a lot of value in the customer and on the products and on the way they behave, so that you can actually learn and predict the future. Okay, so that's what we do. If we look at customers in a retail store, that's going to be different because you don't have the information about the customer. So in B2B, there's a lot of value on the products, on the repetitiveness, on the customer, and that's what we analyze.
Okay, so your ideal client is a manufacturer. Do you have any sort of a band of revenue or the number of products they sell or the number of transactions or the number of customers that help identify an ideal client?
Yes. So we look at complexity, not a lot of complexity. So if you have a customer that has, one product and 1 million customers, okay, there's some complexity, but that's not what we're looking for. So
Right.
we say that 100 products, 100 customer, and it could be a combination of that. We have customers that have 60 customers but have 400 products. So we could just say that would be the range. And we have customers that have a $10 million revenue per year. Also, we have a multi-billion-dollar company as a customer. So the range is wide, okay? But that's what we look at, like some sort of complexity.
And those are kind of the lower end. There's really no functional limit to the upper end of number of products or number of customers, right?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right. And so the problems that you're really trying to solve for are profit leak, missed revenue opportunities, maybe pricing issues. Are there other problems that you find you typically solving for?
Profit variations, sales variations. This is volume cost analysis. Now we optimize inventory, budgeting, execution. So it's a combination because actually, and I think we talked about this last time, when you analyze a company, you see the company as a whole. So, it actually would make no sense to have bits of parts of solutions doing different specialized things. So when we design our Daniel was thinking about the company as a whole. So everything needs to be connected, the inventory part, the sales part, the profit part, okay? You can see in companies that they usually, the sales part doesn't think about profitability. And then you have the finance part, and then they just collide whenever there's a problem, okay?
Right.
So combining all these bits and parts together actually gives you a bigger sense of what is going on in the company.
Understand. And when you say sales, I think of the
Revenue.
sales team that goes out and gets in front of customers. I think when you say sales, you're talking more about revenue and turnover, right?
Yes, revenue.
Okay.
Revenue and turnover, yeah.
All right. Now, how about sales channel versus direct sales versus e-commerce? Do you have clients in all three of those spaces?
We are our strategy is through channels. We have channel partners. And the reason is that our Daniel is designed for the high level people. I mean, we design it, who sees the more value is the C-level people, VP people, directors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within a company, you have different users. You have the analysts that were the usual people that used to do the slice and dicing with the data. But the real value is in the management part, okay? So if we go out and sell directly, okay, we might have some barriers to enter the high-level people in companies. So strategically, we focus on distributors that, usually have the trust of the customers, and they
Right.
have been in a relationship for the past 2, 3, 5 years, and they sell ERP solutions. That's another thing. We partner with channel partners that usually sell ERP solutions, which is the perfect combination of what we do because we analyze what is on the ERP.
How about with accounting firms?
Accounting firms. I mean, it could be interesting. We don't have an accounting firm yet. Yeah.
Okay, and then speaking of channels, so I understand how you're going to market. I'm also wondering about your ideal client. Can they sell through channel, or must they sell directly? Could they have e-commerce sales? Can you evaluate all of those different go-to-market channels on behalf of a client?
Yes. We can separate them and analyze them separately.
Okay. Now we're going to jump into the tool in just a second. Before we do that, we start talking about AI, and I know there's a couple questions that invariably come up about security, privacy of data, and also hallucinations, and can you trust the data? So how would you quickly address those?
Okay, so let's talk about hallucination, which is a hot topic now with everything related to AI. So our Daniel is a combination of different AI techniques. This is not Gen AI. It's, the perfect AI is a combination of different techniques. And what our Daniel's input is hard data. It's what you have on the books. So it's not going to go uh, outside of that spectrum. Okay, it's going to analyze what you have on the books. Okay, so there's no way it can hallucinate. Obviously, in your newsboard, you can have something that came out that made no sense, but that's because there's a problem with the source, right? And you go fix it, it runs again, and then it's good. Okay, so that's the part of hallucination.
So in that case, if you've got some bad data or something wrong internally, then it's not a bug; it's actually a feature, right? It's going to help you identify the fact that
It's
you've
going to
got some
help you
bad data.
identify. It's not. It wasn't built to identify, data problems, but you can see them very easily. Because
Right.
I'll just give you an example. If you have, a city, Washington D.C., and then you input the same city as Washington without the D.C. Those are two cities in the ERP. So our Daniel is going to pop up news or alerts like Washington D.C. drops sales by 100%. It makes no sense.
Right.
Then you go and fix it in the source. It runs again. It learns, and then it's all okay.
Got it.
So it helps you, point that out.
So that's hallucinations. How about security?
So security, we work in the cloud, and for this we partner with IBM. This is going to allow us to have their level of security. And what we do is that we have a connection between an environment with the customer that directly feeds the cloud, and the customer has access to the cloud. So what we have as standards are IBM standards, which are government standards for information and security.
So a company's data is not intermingled with any other company's data.
It's not. This is, we work single tenant. Every company has their own server, and this is because we need a lot of computational power analyzing all this data. I mean, you can imagine if you have a company that very easily can have millions of different combinations every single day, and analyze them every single day is quite an effort. So we need a full server for the customer.
Okay. All right. You mentioned IBM. I know you've got some high profile clients and partnerships. Are you at liberty to share any names?
With the customers?
Yeah. Any of your marquee customers or any important partnerships that you have?
Yeah. Partnerships, we just mentioned IBM. So we're working with IBM, and this is part of the roadmap. Sooner rather than later, we're going to embed IBM technology into our Daniel. As I said at the beginning, it's a combination of different AI techniques. So we are going to incorporate the LLM part, which is something that we didn't have. And this is going to make it feel more human, because it's going to be a conversational experience with our Daniel. And you can actually ask questions about, okay, why did this happen? And he's going to reply with hard data, which is what we're looking for. Okay. And about customers, I'll just give you an example about complexity. So we're working with a flower company that is a grower and distributor in US. They at some point have 30,000 points of sale. Okay. Wow. And you can imagine how hard it is to analyze every point of sale. Okay. So we are seeing every point of sale as one profit unit. And you can actually see the differences between type of flowers, colors, demographics, right? And now that we're going to incorporate the new functionality about cross-selling and basket analysis, it's going to be very interesting how it behaves to optimize the revenue part of this company. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we're going to put your screen up. Before I share it, let's make sure that you get on to whatever it is that you want to be sharing.
Okay.
All right. So this is, I think it's important to point out that you make an important distinction in your terminology. This is a news board, not a simple dashboard, because you're not defining what's going to appear here. You're letting our Daniel look at the data and define it. But let me shut up now, and you take 5 minutes and take us through some different examples here of what you think is important.
Exactly. No, thank you, Ed. So just I'm going to say it again, because this is really important. This is a newsboard. It's not a dashboard. And that's one of the biggest questions we get when we present this to a potential customer or partner. So the main difference is that with the dashboard, and perhaps all of you, are familiar with this, you need to define what you want to see. Okay. You need to know, I want to see, revenue by region, by seller, by product. You need to define what you want to see. This is like asking the questions. Okay. And what the BI tool becomes, it's a solution that automates the process of publishing information from the data store, but it's going to be the same thing. It's just going to change values. A newsboard has to be different. This is what we call push technology. In here, and I'm going to say something I said earlier, our Daniel knows about business, learns about your business, and thinks like an executive. And based on the discovery part, is going to publish in a newsboard whatever is relevant at the moment. Okay, so you can see that this is going to be the newspaper of your company, but instead of having sports, politics, you're going to have summary, revenue, profit, customers. Then you might have additional tabs as inventory, different business units. And as Ed says, everything was built automatically. Okay, this changes, and that's the beauty about a newsboard.
Not only the values, but what's appearing in each of those cells changes.
Exactly. You can see that you have revenue and profit, last day sales revenue, profit variation, sales variation. You can have positive or negative discoveries. And I'm just going to give you an example. So you can see that there is a profit variation, which you can, in the narrative, there's an important profit decrease of 2,000% in the last 12 months. It's analyzing 3 running months versus the same months last year in a very specific combination of office, product line, and channel. This is what changes. Okay. In another moment, I might have something about, completely different combination. Okay.
So actually, let me interrupt you there.
Yes.
What if I'm reviewing it? I'm the CFO. I'm reviewing it, and I say, that's a problem there. I need to dig into that. Is there a way to kind of freeze that or to identify that as an issue to work on before the dashboard refreshes and I lose it?
Yes. I mean, obviously, there's things that remain as monthly news, daily news, so you have a combination. We don't want to have something that just disappears the next day. Okay. Right. So we're going to have options to visualize daily, monthly, and however you want it. But in this case, you identify this. It's a 40,000 monthly profit leak, and analyzing the context is a loss due to non-profitable sales. And as Ed said, if I want to know more, I just click. Now I'm going to deep dive into a narrative that explains whatever happened in the analysis. Okay, so I can see that the 40,000 is decomposed by
Juan, I think your connection may be a little bit unstable.
X amount, and it's going to give me the idea for a Daniel is to give me all the context, because I'm the one that knows what to do. So it's going to be graphics and tables with detail. I can see revenue, cost, profit, and profit margin. Can you please? Hello, Ed. Can you? Let me just do one thing. Okay, I think this is better. Can you hear me now, Ed?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, let's just hope it gets better. So the idea for our Daniel is just to find and discover a specific situation and give you all the context you need to understand what was behind the analysis. And in this case, for example, you can see how the 40,000 is decomposed by different products. And this is a semantic layer of knowledge that our Daniel adds to the data. You can analyze products by lost, new, and same products, and actually focus that the problem is the new products, right?
Okay, so you used a term there. I want to interrupt. I'm not a data analyst. When you say a semantic layer of data, I'm sure there's many people who understand exactly what that means, but others like me may not. What does that mean?
So you don't find this on the books, Ed. You don't find something that says same products, new or lost.
Okay.
This is something that, based on our Daniel's knowledge, he can, let's say, classify things within the data to make a better analysis. And this is usually what analysts do. Okay, they understand that, okay, so within all the products sold in this period, this we can put them in a group. Okay, this we can take them out. Okay, so that's exactly what analysts do, and that is what our Daniel is doing.
Got it.
Okay, if we go down, which is the interesting part, you can see all the dimensions that took place on the analysis. You can see that there are 215 products, and you can organize tables however you want. You can see that you have 4 sellers and 6 customers.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea for you is to get to the root of the problem. So I can just click in one customer, which is Hawaiian Sports. And now this is going to be the same analysis, just one additional layer of detail. And whenever I get to the root of the problem, which is what I'm trying to do, I can take this into a deep analysis. And I'm going to do this really quick so that we get
and
impact.
then I want to ask you some more questions.
You're going to see the impact.
I'm sure people are going to want to be in touch to understand in more detail.
Of the yes.
So let's do this. I think the screen share is taking a lot of bandwidth. Is there anything particular that you want to say about this screen before we jump back to conversation?
Hello, Ed. I'm back.
Okay, good. Let's try with the camera and see. I think it was the screen share that was the problem.
Yes, I don't know what's happening with the connection.
All right. Well, so you were just getting to, I think, the really juicy part. So what people ought to know is the website link. The URL is right there. Are there other ways for people to get in touch with you?
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm really approachable. So if you send me a LinkedIn request, connection, or just a message, I'll get back to you.
And they can easily find you in the contacts below this event if they find this recording on LinkedIn.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So a couple more quick questions before we wrap up. How long does it take to get this rolling?
So that's another thing. We have developed a way to connect to any source in 4 weeks. It's really quick. Okay. So we have a universal connector. We can do it in 4 weeks. We have done it in 2 weeks. But the interesting part, Ed, is that, sometimes it's hard to believe that you can have AI doing all this discovery part. So we can test this really easy. We can do a proof of concept in 1 day with no cost. And customers can actually see our Daniel working with real data. And what we get on this proof of concept is that they discover things that they had no idea were going on in the company. And that is the best way to sell.
Yeah.
So if you have any doubts, you can test it really easily with no cost.
Okay. Are you at liberty to share how many active clients you have?
Yeah, we're working with 15 customers now. We have them in different countries. As I said, obviously we go through many different phases. We were in the proof of concept a few years ago. Then we went to market in 2023. We are developing the distributors network, but we have 15 customers in different countries, but the pipeline is growing really fast. So,
congratulations.
So, yeah.
All right, let's talk about your roadmap. I'm sure that you've got some stuff you can't talk about, some stuff that's aspirational, but some stuff over the course of the next maybe 1 or 2 revisions that you're excited about. Can you share any of that?
Yes. So the main part is the discovery, So what we want to do is just make this experience more personalized. We want every user, based on their usage, to have, a different newspaper. Okay. If they're interested in a specific things, then it's going to show them a specific things. And we want to make this experience very personalized. So, if we talk about how we are going to be in the next few years, it's going to be very a very human interaction where you get a notification on WhatsApp or Slack or email saying, okay, you need to focus on these things this week, and we want to take this to the management level. Okay.
Got it. All right. So I think that's the conclusion of our 30 minutes and kind of our discussion and presentation, but I'm sure there's a lot of common questions that you get. People should feel free to drop them into chat. I know a couple that come to my mind is, what's the actual connection like? You talked about how you've got some sort of a universal API or something to pull information from any ERP, but can you give a little bit more detail about how that gets set up? Is it something that somebody has to configure or what?
That's something that we configure, or when I say we, is the distributors, the channel partners.
Okay.
And it's an ETL agent that extracts, transforms, and loads the data into the cloud. Mm-hmm. And then we connect through BPM, all these encryption methods. So it's an ETL agent. But what we're doing now is that since we're focusing on specific ecosystems, and when I say specific ecosystem is specialized ERP solutions for manufacturing companies, mm-hmm. We're going to develop integrations, okay, for specific ecosystems.
Right.
But as of now, we don't connect directly to the ERP. It's an environment where you usually connect the applications.
Got it. Okay. All right. And then how about your business model? Is this subscription, or is this based on consumption or the number of inputs? How do you price it?
This is a subscription-based model, and it depends on, let's say, the complexity of the model, right? So we have 5 different editions, and we can size a project with, a query to the database. And what you get is a combination of our Daniel robot and additional users. That's what you get, right? So it's a subscription base, and we call it end-to-end SaaS. It's like having a Netflix account that when you install Netflix on your TV, you don't need to hire specialized people or learn how to run it. Okay, so it's a subscription. You pay and you benefit.
Right. All right. So interesting question from Nicholas here about the Newsboard. How does our Daniel go through this process of deciding what to surface in the Newsboard?
That was the hardest part to develop, okay? Because that's actually making our Daniel think like an executive. And this is relevant. So you have many variables that get involved into this process. So you have financial impact, actionability, probable causes, and many, many more, okay? And this combined can actually allow you to rank the discoveries based on, what should they know today, okay? So it's a hard development, but that's one of the technologies we have.
Got it. Let's see, another question from Lucas. What kinds of visualization tools are you using to build those dashboards? Is that something that you're willing to share or can comment on?
I mean, this is, I guess, a technical question. I would say that everything, all the visualization tools we're using were developed by ourselves. So it's all proprietary. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. Are there any other common questions that you routinely get that we ought to just quickly try to answer while we're together, or do you think people ought to just be in touch with you via the website and LinkedIn and take their conversation from there?
Yeah, I think that's good. One common question we get is about the learning part. So people say that our Daniel is going to learn about my company. Now this learning is going to be applied to the competition, and that doesn't usually. It's not that doesn't usually. It doesn't happen because the learning is within your own environment. And
that separate IBM server that only has your data in it, and no other data is being commingled with it.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned that you are going to be including some LLM data. How are you going to maintain that security when you do that?
Because it's going to be within that environment. So there's ways you can work with LLM that doesn't go outside the limitations you apply to. So it's not going to be any issue.
Got it. And then one more question, then we'll end from Christina. She's putting you on the spot. How expensive is it? Is that something you can answer, or does it completely depend on the environment?
It depends on the environment, but it's very straightforward. We have 5 editions. It starts on 1,500 per month, and it can go up depending on how complex it is, or the combination within different licenses.
But
yeah,
so for 18 grand a year, a company could get into this. And
exactly.
do you have any sort of a track record of how quickly they find alarming and expensive areas that they can jump in and fix? In other words, do they
Right
typically
away.
pay that? So they may pay that 18 grand back within the first 30 days based on what
Right
you're.
away. And I mean, it was a funny experience, but usually when customers haven't paid anything just in the free trial, they can
Right.
actually benefit from what they see.
Wow.
And we had a customer that we presented to the board. It was the CFO. There were many people in that meeting, and just showing them the trial, they said in that meeting, like, we are going to implement our Daniel, but can we just take screenshots of what we're seeing so that we can take action while we wait for the 4 weeks? So customers see value right away. That's a good sign.
All right. So what I'm going to do is just quickly put your contact details there in case somebody's trying to find you. It's Juan Hurtado at r-daniel.ai. Hopefully I spelled everything there correctly. If you're watching on LinkedIn, go to the LinkedIn post of the event. You'll see Juan as one of the attendees, and you can easily connect to his profile that way. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Juan, for your time. Thanks for sharing this. It's, I think, a really fascinating concept. I hope manufacturers seize it and generate lots of extra cash that's available for them to then invest in the kinds of programs that will help them grow sales, as I call it, with the marketing and sales side of it. Thanks very much for your time. Thanks, everyone, for joining and listening and watching today and in the future as you stumble across this.
Thank you very much, Ed, and thank you everyone for being here. It was a pleasure.